All right, just wanted to do a quick review and not so much a tutorial, but more of kind of showing off the final product of how we did this mock leather on plastic. So what I did is I took this regular Captain or Commander Steve Rogers figure, saw a ton of leather on the actual action figure itself, and decided I'm going to try to paint this thing to simulate and make it look like real leather and make it look worn and make different areas of it shine, instead of just that flat brown boring bland product they gave us originally. So what I did is I took a bunch of different layers. I started with I sanded everything slightly because I didn't want to lose any of the detail. So that took off the top layer of any of the issues that would be there from the mold release from the action figure itself. I use soap. I usually just use Dawn dish detergent. That takes care of any of the residue left over too. Once I had it cleaned and I had it sanded, what I did is I did a base coat. And I did a medium brown base coat. And I actually used Panzer Aces from Vallejo. I believe it's from Vallejo. And it's a leather. Yeah, it is from Vallejo. I used a leather belt color. It's like a medium brown. Any medium brown should work, no problem, as long as it's a base and not a layer. So I put that on first, and then after that, what I decided to do was to change it slightly. I'm just going to keep it kind of focused on there while I grab some of these paints and show you. I used this one as a base also over top of that other one, but this works fine. If you want to base it with this, because these are way more readily available, that works awesome. So use that as a base. It comes out like almost a yellowy color, but it works really well. And then what I did is I took this contrast, and I understand that the contrast is supposed to go over top of a contrast primer, but it really does work well shading and blending into the leather itself. So I use this next to kind of go and give me the tint to it. So you can see that that yellowy brown stayed in some areas, right? And then that darker leather contrast actually went and recessed and gave it a little bit of shading that actually looks like a leather. And I'm kind of in some harsh light here, but I'm going to move it over here. You can see how it kind of simulates the leather look a whole lot better. And we're still a little shiny, but hey, it is what it is. So then after I did that, I took snake white leather and I went to this one, switching my hands, hold on. To this one, I did this other contrast, which made another darker thing. So now I'm using 3 different types of brown alone on this thing, and it's coming out really well. And I'm watching as it dries in between each layering. So then I decided I need to do a little bit of a dry brushing on it. So I actually dry brushed on top of it using a darker brown. And I threw some, trying to find which paint it was, dry brushed with a little bit of that darker brown on it, and I can't find my darker brown. It doesn't matter as long as you're using a tone or two darker than the one that you were using initially. After I dry brushed, I went to my go-to with some shading with this sepia shade, and I let it all dry. So when I look at it, you can see I hit the areas very specifically, these extra belts here. I hit that with like a lighter dry brushing, and I left the areas in here. So, I mean, we have contrast, not contrast paint, but we have a contrast in color between the raised areas of the leather and then the other areas on below, because the idea with this is we want to get it as realistic as possible, right? So if we want it as realistic as possible, these areas that are raised are going to be scraping and bumping and be more worn and not look as new than the areas that are recessed on the sculpt. So I did that pretty much throughout the entire sculpt. So if it's a raised area, we're dry brushing a lighter color over top of it. and we are trying to just blend it in with those multiple different shades that I used. And then after it was all done and said, I went and took, where is my marker? Let's put action figure down for a second. I used one of these. This is a Molotov liquid chrome marker. And I don't buy the big ones because I only use it for detail work. So I think this is it is a 1 millimeter point. When you actually open it up, it's pretty small. So I use that little tiny point to actually do the buckles. I use that little tiny point to do all of the highlighting work. And it works out really perfect to kind of give a shiny metallic feel, make it look like real metal on any of the metal areas that weren't there. None of those areas except the belt buckle were painted in silver. And now I just painted all of them and added more work, detail work to it. So it actually looks how it should look if it was actually being worn. So that is really the tutorial for how to do this without showing you the step-by-step process. I'm just working you through the paints and working you through what it is, because you can watch videos all day long on how to dry brush or how to use contrast paints or how to do that. This is the final product of all of that work. Hit me up with any questions down below. Check out the page, like, subscribe, and check out the Facebook and Instagram feeds for more work and more upcoming stuff. I usually only do my finished stuff here on YouTube and do a lot of work in progress stuff there. And the other thing too is, I don't want to leave this as is and just leave it, that's it. So there's some dry brushing. You can see again on the muscles and on the suit, I dry brushed a lighter blue over top of the darker blue because I wanted the sculpt to pop more. So all of the dark blue areas have a dry brush light blue, slightly lighter than the navy over top of it, just to make it offset so it doesn't look like the actual bland paint job that they gave for the factory release figure that you'll be able to buy in a store. I wanted it to be a little bit better and a little bit more detailed. So that's it. I'm probably going to touch up the hair and give him some more hair detail. It's not horrible, but I think it's kind of reversed. It should be the other way around. The lighter areas shouldn't be underneath of the darker areas. They kind of reversed it. The highlighted areas of anyone's hair are usually on the top layer, and it's darker as you go down. They did it reverse, so I may repaint the head too. I haven't got there yet. That's it. That's my custom Commander Rogers figure. Besides that, he looks pretty intact. I did this too. I weathered that back area. There's a lot of wear and tear when you're taking stuff on and off, and if he has a shield back there, it's going to get scraped up. So I weathered that too on top of that. You can use any type of weathering product you want to use. Nuln oil from Citadel as a shade works really well. And I threw some of that go-to sepia shade in there too, so I have some earth tone, like it got dirty. Hit me up with any questions. Feel free to ask any down below, and I'll see you in the next video.